The brain. Now, one thing you automatically take for granted is that which you call your brain. Your brain is very fascinating. If you will stop and think about it, what is stored in your brain? What is stored in your brain from the beginning of physicality? What are the first reactions that you have? Your reactions are to pictures or images. Children respond to the energy patterns in an almost cartoon-like fashion. This is their interpretation of these energy patterns. You watch a child and their eyes are big and bright and looking at everything. They're fascinated by everything. These are all images that are stored in the brain. Images that are stored for later association with that which you call spoken words, and after spoken words, the written language on paper. Whether it be alphabetical words or numerical symbols. To the brain, it is all a type of symbology. When you begin to teach a child, you hold up a cup and you have something they like in the cup. Then you hold it out to the child and you say, cup. The child makes an association. Every time that child sees that particular configuration, when they get to the point they can make any kind of a sound, they'll reach and say up, up, up. They can't probably get the whole word, but they know what they want. They want that cup. First the images. Then the word. When they get a little older, they see, in a picture book, a cup, and you see the word underneath in alphabet letters. Then you say to the child, cup, point to the cup and point to the word. Then an association is made very simplistic. Another example is a child that is blind. Someone would hand them a cup and say the word cup and they could feel it and then make the association with the word. What about people who can't hear? With people that are able to read lips, what are they reading? They're reading an image that the lips form because they cannot hear it. There are those that are very, very good at seeing someone at a distance and they know exactly what that person is saying because they have trained themselves to read the picture of the lips. Then, you go on beyond that point, you have people that cannot hear and use sign language. They're showing you an image with their fingers and gestures. You see how fascinating your bodies are? How much you are able to store by images. Your whole understanding comes from pictures that you make from the energy patterns. Do we have other receptors? The skin is a grand organ because it records all manner of tactile data. A detective/policeman will ask someone who has observed a murder/accident/incident over and over again the same questions. One of the reasons being that that portion of you which you call your aura picks up and records in the brain all events, sound, smell, taste, etc., that the eyes do not necessarily see or the ears hear. The eyes only record a small part of your body experience. Someone will say, well, everybody knows that. Do they? Do you ever stop to think about the process? The brain records 100% of every experience in physicality. When a new track is made in the brain, that does not eliminate or write over the old track. If it did write over the old track, you would soon lose a great deal of that which you call memory. Your brain is a recorder. It turns on when you are born, it shuts off when you die. It gathers information. Since you function in more than one timeline and one reality at a time, the brain is not limited by time. It processes information forward and backward. It will give you information you search for on any subject you are interested in, regardless of its so-called time sequence. You set your schedules in a rigid sequence of events and your brain adjusts to your speed, so to speak. The eyes first project what they then see. The ears first project what they then hear. The whole physical body projects your personal reality around itself, including the body itself, and then senses it. The more you observe these pictures, the easier it is to follow the pattern. Possibilities and probabilities are constantly chosen to be put into motion. Those that are put into action create your pictures or your illusions or how your world appears to you, whatever choice of words you desire to use. It is all a psychological construct of your making. That's why no two people see the same thing. You can only see what you have projected. That's why two people in the same room do not see the same thing. It is an impossibility. It has been said many, many times, and this is a very difficult one to really understand: you create your own reality. Well, of course, because the images that you project are the images that you work with to live in this physicality. You can't blame someone else for what you are projecting. There's constant interaction between you and other people, but the only image you see is yours. Why are there events I can't remember? The brain recalls past events based on their emotional content. Someone will mention an event that happened a few years ago. You can't even remember that event. For you as an individual, this event contained no emotional content. How many times have you heard someone say, "You certainly have a vivid imagination"? What are you doing? You are imaging. From the picture comes the words. The descriptive words that you use to describe to others the image that you have seen. When you use your imagination, that is what allows you to function in this reality. You'll say, "Well, my eyes see this." Your eyes only see what you have imaged or the projected image that you are putting in front of yourself. Someone told me that we have more than one brain. The multi-brains within the body control local functions. You are used to thinking of your body as whole somethings. These bodies took many roads of development to get to the point they are today. Each system in your physical body has a brain. This allows it to function automatically. Each of these systems, heart, lungs, kidneys, etc., were developed separately, and as there was a need for a particular function, these systems were added. As an example, you didn't need lungs if you weren't breathing. When you begin to truly live within the physical being, you will find that you will begin to make a gradual shift out of the brain chatter that you reside with every day. The shift is an interesting experience when you become aware of what you are teaching the brain and the body in the physical expression. Now in dreamtime you connect up with the dreamer you that you are working together with. How much of that information you bring into physicality through the physical brain, that is where your action comes in. The amount that you bring through your inner psyche into the physical brain is where you are functioning from. That is why things get mixed up. The dreamtime is all in symbols, not words. The inner psyche interprets the symbols, gives them to your physical brain, your computer. It's like everything else with your computer. If you put a dot in the wrong place, or if you change an A to an O, it can sometimes change the whole context of what is interpreted. Do I have a brain in the dead zone? Since you have created a pseudo-body for yourself, that pseudo-body also has a pseudo-brain. That pseudo-brain is a carbon copy of the information that was in your physical brain. As we have said, nothing is ever lost. There are those that work with the dead zone that are a little bit more perceptive. They work with a little bit better information. They're working with something specific that they're looking for, and it's not only the psychics. It's the people like the Einsteins and Tesla. It's the people like Van Gogh and Mozart. Those are working with dead zone information. But look what they're doing with it, they're applying it in different ways. You have different artists that work with dead zone information. In the dead zone, there are always those that are working toward perfection in a certain area. These people that are working in the live zone are looking for that information and connect up with those in the dead zone that have come up with something unique and different. That's why someone like a Tesla can be so far ahead in time. It's because he connected up with future. You can do that, but most people are not that interested. I'd say 97% work off of mass consciousness. It is just a small percentage that don't. That's why everything becomes stagnant. We're coming across the excitement of Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and others that are coming through your television and movies. They're coming in through the books. You can see the beginning of a new type of evolution for people of all ages. As an example, the Harry Potter books are being read not only by children, but those of mature age. They're not only going to the movies with children, but the mature adults are also going to the movies alone. The same thing with the Lord of the Rings. The same thing with the Star Wars. Why are those programs popular? Because they allow you to explore a reality other than this reality. Every one of them uses a different way of approaching that which you will call the unexplored, the unexplained, the mysteries, the intrigue. This is what you're beginning to search for. You're tired of repetition. You've had lifetimes of repetition in this last millennium. You've used every physical means you can think of. Take a very simple thing. You are all familiar with past life regressions. You're fascinated with past life regressions, not only because you would like to have been someone important, but when you tap into that other reality, how do you explain it to yourself or to others who are listening? If you had nothing but symbols of words, I don't think any one of you would go into a past life regression. How boring. You see the pictures and you make the associations that might not be the correct association, but it suits you and what you are trying to learn. The only way you can enjoy being here to the fullest is to realize that this game that you are playing is very interesting. And there's a great deal to be learned by taking the physical body and the planet and watching how they work together. The brain only makes associations with that which it records. So why not experience something new and interesting that has already been recorded in the brain? If you take everything for granted, then what's to learn? This is why people become very disenchanted and want to know what they can do to get out of here into that which you call nirvana, heaven, or wherever else they think is a good place to be because they don't like it here. You started at one time to work with extending the mind and searching for new realities. Those that work from mass consciousness were not into that to the extent that some individuals were. These that draw from mass consciousness, because of their number, overrode that particular exploration and went to doing something that they could make. Something that they could see visually. This was what you call the Industrial Revolution. That was the direction your evolution took at that time. You see, at that point you were evolving into different beings. You changed clothing. You changed transportation. You changed housing. You changed how you managed with your foodstuffs. You changed lots of things. You went through major changes in the body, especially these last few years going into this new millennium. Your body structure changed considerably. You could not live back when people went across the prairies in covered wagons. Women giving birth on the trail. The women today, they could not begin to handle that. The men could not build their own houses and hunt their food and do all of these other things. You don't have the stamina today. Sure, you work in the gyms and you run up and down the streets, but you don't have the physical endurance of those previous bodies. You changed your bodies, and then that has become, how much more can I do with that? How many more different kinds of clothing can I make? Or how many different kinds of transportation can I make? You've explored and almost come to the end of your exploration in those areas at the present time. There is an underlying desire to know more, and you think you'll find it by getting out of here. Your number one science is going in the direction of proving that you are not real. Research in biology and DNA, that gets into unrealness. That's where you really want to be. You want to realize you're not real. Theoretically, you say, well, if you magnify your hand enough times you see holes through it. You want to go beyond that and say, of course we're not real, how could we be? That's where science is going. That's also why NASA is all upset. Because that research is drawing people away from the mechanical part and putting them into the biology part where the real exploration is going to take place. Men and women are hungry for change because they're unsatisfied, they are unfulfilled. Like the men and women who work at jobs 8 or more hours a day so many days in the week. Doing something they don't want to do, because they need the money to do what they want to do. What happens when they get home in the evening? The man finds something he likes to do. The woman finds something she likes to do. They need fulfillment. That is why women who work enjoy their children, because they are not with their children. They're doing something they don't want to do. So when they come home, they enjoy the hours they have with the children. The children enjoy the parents because they haven't had them around all the time either. You are satisfying the physical. There is a deep-seated longing within each one of the individuals on the planet, the longing to know. You've reached a certain point where you went so fast. Now what's left? Individuals are bored with physicality. You've got to take another direction. And what's that direction going to be? Searching. A long time ago you forgot one basic element, to ask why. And who is your best friend? None other than your brain. It stores your record of events, past, present, and future for making new pictures.